So you're aiming for an early years special educational needs teacher role.
That's great.
We've got a whole bunch of resources from RoleCatcher to help you get ready.
Oh,
We've got career guides,
yeah.
interview guides,
Yeah.
and even some insights into how they use AI.
Okay.
So think of this deep dive as your interview prep cheat sheet.
Okay.
Are you ready to dive in?
Absolutely. Let's start by just setting the scene a little bit.
Okay.
So as an early years special educational needs teacher,
Yeah.
you're going to be working with these kindergarten level students
Right.
with a range of different disabilities.
Yeah.
And it's really all about,
Yeah.
creating that safe and inclusive learning environment for them.
Right.
Designing individual learning plans.
Yes.
And teaching those essential skills.
So it sounds incredibly rewarding.
It is.
But I imagine it comes with its own unique set of challenges too, right?
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
It can be pretty demanding.
Yeah.
The workload can be high, and you might encounter some challenging behaviors. But the positive impact you have on these young learners is immeasurable.
Yeah.
And I think it's also great to know that the job outlook for this is really positive. It's projected to grow by 3%.
That is good news.
Which is great news.
That is good news.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about RoleCatcher a little bit.
Okay.
They have a ton of different resources.
Yeah, they do.
But I think what's really interesting is how their AI can help tailor your application
Right.
and feedback to very specific job roles.
So what's really fascinating about this is RoleCatcher actually analyzes the specific requirements for the job that you're going for, and then it uses AI to help you highlight
Cool.
the most relevant skills and experiences in your application materials.
That's a huge advantage.
It is.
It's like having a personal career coach in your pocket.
Exactly, and it's giving you an edge over other candidates.
You mentioned they have a ton of different resources.
No, they have a lot.
Like how many we're talking about?
Well over 3,000 career guides.
Wow.
13,000 skill guides.
Oh my gosh.
17,000 interview guides.
Wow.
And a database of 9 million employers.
Worldwide.
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 That's wild.
It's a lot.
That's amazing.
It's a gold mine of information.
It is a gold mine.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get into the interview prep.
Okay.
We're going to walk through some sample questions from RoleCatcher's interview guide.
Okay.
I'll be the interviewer, and you can give some insights into what they're really looking for.
Sounds good.
And how to approach each question.
Okay.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, first question.
Good.
Can you tell us about your experience working with children with special educational needs?
Okay.
This seems pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
But what are they really trying to assess here?
Well, they're looking for the depth of your experience here, not just a list of places that you've worked.
Right.
So they want to see concrete examples of how you've actually applied those skills and that knowledge.
Yeah. To support learners with a variety of needs.
Okay, so instead of just saying like, I worked at this school for this many years or whatever,
Yeah.
what would be a better approach?
You want to think about a very specific situation that really demonstrates your skills.
Okay.
So, for example, you could say something like, in my previous role, I worked with a student who had difficulty with communication. I implemented a visual support system using pictures and symbols, which really improved their ability to express their needs and participate in classroom activities.
That's a great example.
Yeah.
It's concise. It's specific.
Right.
It highlights a positive outcome.
Exactly.
I'm guessing they might ask a follow-up question like, what challenges have you faced in this role and how did you overcome them?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They want to see how you can handle difficult situations.
Okay.
So don't shy away from talking about challenges.
Right.
But choose an example where you successfully navigated a tricky situation and highlight your problem-solving skills and resilience.
So honesty is key.
Yes.
But frame it in a way that shows you learned and grew from that experience.
Exactly.
Okay. What would be a good starting point for that response?
You could say something like, one challenge I faced was working with a student who exhibited frequent outbursts.
Okay.
I collaborated with the school psychologist to develop a behavior intervention plan.
Yeah.
That included sensory breaks and positive reinforcement strategies. This led to a reduction in outbursts and a more positive learning environment for the student.
That's great.
Yeah.
It shows your collaboration skills.
Yes.
And your ability to implement evidence-based practices.
Exactly.
All right, let's move on to question number 2.
Okay.
How do you create individualized learning plans for children with special educational needs?
So this question is all about showcasing your ability to really understand a child's unique needs.
Right.
And then translate that understanding into a tailored learning plan or an IEP. Yeah.
Individualized education program.
Yeah, yes.
Yep.
The IEPs, they're like the roadmap for each student's journey.
Exactly.
So how should you structure your answer to highlight your IEP expertise?
You really want to start by outlining your assessment process.
Okay.
So how do you gather information about a child's strengths, weaknesses, and their learning style?
Okay.
You could mention using things like observations, standardized assessments, conversations with parents and therapists.
Yeah, and I'm guessing collaboration is key here too.
Absolutely emphasize that creating an IEP is a collaborative effort.
Okay.
It involves the parents, the therapist, and all the other specialists. And explain how you work together to create a holistic plan that supports the child.
I imagine they might follow up with something like, can you give me an example of a time you had to significantly modify an IEP, and what was the outcome?
That's a great point. Be prepared to share an example that highlights your flexibility and your ability to adjust your approach. Based on the child's progress and their changing needs. So maybe a time when you incorporated a new assistive technology or adapted the learning goals based on feedback from the parent.
So it's all about showing you're responsive and adaptable.
Yes.
Always putting the child's needs first.
Exactly.
All right, question number 3.
Okay.
How do you ensure that children with special educational needs are fully included in mainstream education settings?
So this question goes beyond just physical presence in the classroom.
Okay.
It's about demonstrating your commitment to inclusive education and making sure that all students have a sense of belonging and equal opportunities to learn and thrive.
So how can you best showcase your understanding and commitment to those inclusive practices?
You want to talk about specific strategies that you've used to create an inclusive environment. So do you use visual aids or assistive technology to support different learning styles?
Do you modify activities to make sure that all students can participate? Do you proactively foster those positive peer relationships and a classroom culture where everyone feels valued and respected?
It's about creating that sense of belonging.
It is.
Making sure everyone feels supported and welcome. I bet they'd love to hear about a time you faced a challenge related to inclusion and how you addressed it.
They might ask something like, what are some challenges you've encountered in promoting inclusion and how have you addressed them?
Okay.
So be ready to share an example that demonstrates your problem-solving skills and your proactive approach.
So, for example, you could talk about a time when you adapted a classroom activity to make it accessible for a student with physical limitations. Or how you addressed a situation where a student was being excluded by their peers.
Exactly. It's about showing that you're not just aware of the principles of inclusion.
But you're actually actively putting them into practice.
I love it. All right. Bring on the next question. I'm ready.
All right. Let's continue with question number 4. How do you work with parents and families to support their child's learning and development? So this one is all about highlighting those parent-teacher partnerships.
And this is especially important when working with children with special needs, right?
Yes, definitely.
Because the parents have so much valuable insight into their child's strengths, challenges, and learning styles.
Absolutely. The interviewer really wants to see that you understand this and that you can build strong, positive relationships with families. It's about open and honest communication. Actively listening to parents' concerns and involving them in the decision-making.
Okay, so instead of just saying, I communicate regularly with parents, what's a more specific way to showcase that collaborative approach?
You could say something like,
I believe in establishing clear lines of communication with parents from the start. I schedule regular meetings to discuss their child's progress, share observations, and collaboratively set goals. I also make myself available for phone calls or emails.
Oh, I love that. That you mentioned you're available outside of regularly scheduled meetings. That shows real dedication.
It does.
Okay, speaking of tricky situations, though. I'm guessing they might ask something along the lines of,
oh, yeah. Can you describe a time when you had to navigate a difficult conversation with a parent? And how did you handle it?
Oh, yeah. Those can be tough.
They can be.
Do you have any advice on how to handle those gracefully?
The key here is to stay calm, empathetic, and focused on finding a solution that benefits the child. Be prepared to share an example that demonstrates your communication and your problem-solving skills. So maybe a time when you had to address a disagreement about a child's IEP goals, or a situation where a parent was unhappy with their child's progress.
It's all about finding that common ground and working together as a team.
It is.
Okay, question number 5. Can you tell us about a time when you had to adapt your teaching approach to meet the needs of a child with special educational needs?
So this is your chance to show your flexibility and creativity. The interviewer wants to see those concrete examples of how you tailor your teaching to meet individual needs.
So instead of just kind of listing different teaching methods, what's a better way to approach this question?
Choose an anecdote that highlights your adaptability. Describe the child's specific needs, the challenges you faced, and the creative solutions.
For example, you could say, I once worked with a student who had significant difficulty with fine motor skills. To help them participate in art activities. I provide them with adaptive tools like thicker crayons and paintbrushes with larger grips. This allowed them to engage in the activity with more confidence and success.
That's perfect.
It's specific. It highlights a positive outcome, and it demonstrates that you're able to think outside the box.
Absolutely.
I bet they'll want to know how you ensure that your teaching is inclusive and accessible for all students right from the get-go.
They'll probably ask a follow-up like, what steps do you take to ensure your teaching is inclusive and accessible to all students? And this is about showcasing your proactive approach to inclusion.
Right. So it's not about just reacting to individual needs as they arise.
Exactly.
It's about creating a learning environment that's welcoming and accessible from day one.
Yes, it's...
So you could talk about using universal design for learning principles in your lesson planning, providing materials in a variety of different formats, and incorporating assistive technologies to support those different learning styles.
Yes. And speaking of assistive technology, RoleCatcher had some really good insights into how their AI can help with that aspect of the job.
I was just going to say that, remember how we talked about they have that huge library of resources, including skill guides?
Yes.
Well, their AI can analyze all of those guides and recommend specific assistive technology.
It can.
Based on the skills you're trying to develop in your students.
It's like having a personalized tech consultant for your classroom.
It really is.
Yeah.
That's incredible. It takes the guesswork out of it.
It does.
Okay, back to the interview questions.
All right.
Question number 6. How do you collaborate with other professionals? Such as speech therapists or occupational therapists to support a child's learning and development?
Teamwork makes the dream work, right?
Yes.
This question is really all about showcasing your ability to collaborate with other professionals to create a cohesive support system for the child.
So it's more than just saying, I communicate regularly with therapists. How can you demonstrate those strong collaborative relationships?
Give some specific examples of how you establish those clear lines of communication, share information about the child's progress, and jointly develop strategies and interventions.
So you could talk about regular team meetings. Shared documentation systems, or even informal check-ins.
Exactly.
To discuss the child's progress.
It's about showcasing those communication channels and demonstrating that you're all committed to supporting that child.
I'm guessing they might ask you to describe a situation where you had to advocate for a child to receive additional support services.
They might ask, tell me about a time you had to advocate for a child. To receive additional support. And be prepared to share an example that highlights your dedication, your willingness to go the extra mile for your students.
Like a time when you noticed a child was struggling with a particular skill. And you worked with the team. To get them additional support from a speech therapist or an occupational therapist.
Perfect example. It shows that you're not afraid to speak up and advocate for their needs.
All right. Are you ready for the final question?
Hit me with it. All right, last question in this set. Can you tell us about a time when you had to deal with challenging behavior in a child with special educational needs?
That can be kind of a sensitive topic. But it's important to show the interviewer that you can handle these situations.
This question is really designed to assess your ability to manage challenging behavior in a safe and supportive way.
Okay.
They really want to see that you understand that challenging behavior is often a form of communication.
Okay.
It's about, figuring out what the child is trying to tell you.
Okay.
And responding in a way that really meets their needs.
So how can you approach this question?
Okay.
Without sounding like you're minimizing the challenges.
Right.
Or blaming the child.
You really want to focus on your proactive strategies.
Okay.
And positive behavior support techniques.
Okay.
Choose an example that really demonstrates your ability.
Okay.
To de-escalate those situations. Create a calm and predictable environment.
Right.
And use positive reinforcement.
So, for example, you could talk about a time when you notice a child.
Right.
Becoming increasingly agitated.
Yeah.
And you could explain how you used a visual schedule to help them understand the upcoming transitions. Provided them with a quiet space to kind of regulate their emotions.
Okay.
And then praise their positive choices.
Right.
Once they had calmed down.
That's a great example.
Okay.
It shows that you're really attuned to the child's cues.
Yeah.
You have strategies in place to prevent escalation.
Right.
And you're focused on reinforcing those positive behaviors.
And I bet they'll also want to know how you involve parents and other professionals
Absolutely.
in developing those behavior intervention plans.
Be prepared for a follow-up question like, how do you collaborate with parents and specialists to address those challenging behaviors?
Okay.
This is your chance to highlight your team approach and your commitment to working together to find solutions.
It takes a village.
It does.
Okay, so we've covered 7 key interview questions.
We have.
Some potential follow-up questions. We've even talked about how RoleCatcher's AI can help you tailor your responses.
Yes.
And practice your delivery. Do you have any final tips before we move on to career development?
Remember to be yourself.
Okay.
Showcase your passion for working with these young learners.
Okay.
And highlight your unique skills and experience.
Great advice.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's shift gears a little bit.
Okay.
And talk about career trajectory. RoleCatcher's career guide had some great insights.
It did.
Into the different stages of an early years special educational needs teacher. So we already touched on kind of the entry level and assistant teacher positions.
Right.
Let's dive into the responsibilities of a fully qualified early years special educational needs teacher.
Okay, so at this stage, you're creating and implementing IEPs. You're providing that specialized instruction.
Okay.
Teaching essential skills, collaborating with parents and other professionals,
Yeah.
and really contributing to the overall development of each child.
It sounds incredibly rewarding.
It is.
But also quite demanding.
It can be.
What kind of qualities would you say are essential for someone to excel in this role?
So RoleCatcher highlighted things like dedication, experience in developing and implementing IEPs, strong instructional and assessment abilities, effective communication and collaboration skills, and a genuine passion for supporting students with diverse needs.
And as you gain experience, you might consider moving into a senior early years special educational needs teacher role.
That's right.
What does that typically involve?
Senior teachers often take on more of those leadership responsibilities.
Okay.
So you're guiding other teachers, you're developing specialized programs, conducting assessments and collaborating with stakeholders to create those comprehensive support plans.
So it's a chance to make an even bigger impact.
Yes.
Sharing your expertise and shaping the educational experience for even more students.
It is.
What kind of skills and experiences would you say are valuable for a senior teacher role?
RoleCatcher emphasized experience in providing leadership and guidance to other teachers, exceptional assessment and intervention abilities, a deep understanding of inclusive education practices, strong collaboration and communication skills, and a commitment to ongoing professional development.
It's inspiring to see.
It is.
How an early years special educational needs teacher can grow and evolve throughout their career, taking on those new challenges and making a difference in the lives of so many children.
And remember, RoleCatcher also highlighted the importance of continuous learning and networking for career advancement. They recommended pursuing advanced degrees or certifications, attending conferences and workshops, and joining online forums.
Okay.
to really stay up to date on the latest research and best practices.
It's a field that's constantly evolving.
It is.
So lifelong learning is essential.
Yes, and they even mentioned a specific certification that stood out.
Which one?
The Certified Autism Specialist.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is that?
So that's a great option for those who really want to specialize in supporting learners with autism spectrum disorder. It shows a deep understanding of autism.
Yeah.
And it gives you very specific strategies and interventions.
That's great.
It is.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to emphasize that you are embarking on an incredibly meaningful journey.
You are.
You have the potential to make a real difference in the lives of these young learners.
Yes, you do.
Helping them reach their full potential.
Absolutely.
And thrive in inclusive educational settings.
And remember, resources like RoleCatcher are there to support you every step of the way.
Absolutely.
From preparing for your interview to advancing in your career.
Okay.
They provide those tools, insights, and guidance that you need to succeed.
Awesome. You've got this. You do. We're cheering you on.
Yes, we are.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the world of early years special educational needs teachers.